Hey everybody, it's Zach. Welcome back to the Heroverse. And guys, I just got done watching Marvel Secret Invasion Episode 3 titled Betrayed. Guys, today's episode was 44 minutes long. It was definitely a little bit shorter than these past two episodes of Secret Invasion. The first episode was 55 minutes. The second episode was 58 minutes. It was a little bit longer. And of course, this episode was a little bit shorter than the previous two. I gotta admit, this episode was definitely there was some great moments of this episode. I just want to start by saying there was some great moments of this episode, but overall, this episode was fucking confusing. It was super confusing. Things happened in this episode at the really towards the end of the episode is where this episode started slipping for me was the end of this episode. I just hell probably even the middle of this episode is where it started slipping for me. Like it just started losing me. The best parts about this episode definitely had to have been when Nick was talking to his wife, asking his wife, "What side are you on? Are you on the side of Gravik, or are you on? Are you still the woman I fell in love with and I married? Like, who are you?" And she said, I am." She mentioned like, "Oh, like for like." She mentioned like, "Oh, you're asking me who I am." The woman that mourned you all that time that you were gone in the blip, and then you came back, and then when you or in the blip, and then when you came back, you know, you I thought we were gonna be back together, and then you went off, and you went voluntarily, you went off, and I never saw you again. I became the same person before I met you because I felt like she said that's the only way, like that's the only kind of way I could go is because you were never here really to begin with. You kept really leaving, and you never really were there to begin with. And that was very strong. That was very strong from Nick's wife. I honestly forget her name, but like that was a very strong sequence in this episode, and that was very kind of like a punch to Nick, saying that even when we were together, you weren't there, and when I was mourning you, and then when you came back, it's like you went voluntarily. You left voluntarily, like you know what I mean. It's like at the end of the day, you were never there, so I went back to myself, and that was a very strong sequence. I like that sequence. There's a lot of great, you know, emotional dialogue sequences in this show. I feel like the show has really brought a lot of emotional sequences out and some great things that we can all think about. And I feel like this definitely is very strong when it comes to the dialogue. I thought that scene was strong between Nick and his wife. And I thought it was a good question of Nick saying like, "Oh, like I've been gone all this time, in the blip, and then when I blip back, I left, but I've been gone this time, and I want to know like all these scrolls are taking Gravik side or not taking Gravik side. Like, what side are you on?" I thought that was a good question. Um, because I feel like that's the vibe of the show of like who's turned to Gravik with Gaia and all that stuff, and it was just a really good question to ask. Nick to ask his wife, especially because his wife is the one that introduced young Gravik, in last week's episode, in the flashback episode. So I thought like that was a really good question. Not only that, another great sequence was definitely the sequence where Talos was talking to Nick, saying that I helped you, you know, I helped you get up in the ranks at Shield. Your secrets, scrolls. I helped you. We all helped you. Go up in the ranks at Shield, and I was like, oh my god, like they're the ones that were that infiltrated the higher ups at Shield to get him higher up, so that way he could be the head of Shield. I mean, he even said that I'm not like even Talos is saying that Nick, you were a great guy, but like don't try to erase the history of us trying to help you get to where you are. And he's like, I never need to thank you, Nick, because you deserved it. You know what I mean? I thought that was very touching, but the fact that Nick shut him down was bullshit. Like I was like, come on, Nick, like don't be so hard on Talos when Talos is always has your side. Even after you failing to help find the scrolls a home, he is still taking your side. And you could tell how hard it is and how hard it's been for Talos to kind of fight his own people. And that's been really annoying because it's like, he understands, in a way, Talos understands where his people are coming from, how angry they are that they have to hide who they really are. And, not only that, but like that Nick failed to find them a home. So he can kind of relate to like their anger, his people's anger about, them wanting to just take over Earth, but like he can't agree with the fact of it's very hypocritical that the Skrulls are wanting to mass genocide the humans when that's exactly what people around the galaxy were trying to do when Nick was trying to find them a home. So he kind of finds it hypocritical, but I do agree with Nick that like Talos like having a hard time trying to kill his people when his people are trying to kill them and are trying to mass genocide the human race. I agree with Nick where like Talos needs to choose a side. There is no middle ground. He needs to just choose a side, and he even told Nick, "I choose your side." And he kind of went through with that in this episode. He killed one of his people. He killed a Skrull in this episode, which you could tell was hard for Talos, but he did it because he said he had Nick's back. Now, the thing I really didn't understand about this episode was definitely Gaia dying in this episode. I was like, what? It was a really shocking moment. I was like, wait a second. I'm like, because Gravik kills Gaia when he finds out that Gaia got the information to stop what is it? I forget the name of the sub. It was called like the Marsh. I think it was no. It was I think it wasn't called the Martian. It was called like I forget what the hell it was called. Let me know down in the comments below, guys, what the name of the sub was called. But they were trying to stop the sub taking down the what was it? It was called like the something one. It was called like the UN-1. Like it was trying to like the sub like a Skrull infiltrated the sub and it was trying to take down UN-1 to cause all out war, and that's what Nick and of course Talos tried to stop, and they couldn't get the information from the Skrull that was impersonating the one dude that had the key, that had like the key to kind of give the green light for the sub to take down UN-1. And that's when of course Talos had to call in the guy. They'd be like, you need to get this from the source itself, because I know you have the one dude that the Skrull is impersonating. I need you to go in the memory bank and find out what the key code is to stop the sub from taking down UN-1. And of course, after Gaia killed the Skrulls that were blocking the room to get that information, Talos said you had to run. But of course, Gravik knew that Gaia was going to do that, and Gaia was going to go on the run and ended up killing her. Now the question is that I know the question is that I know Gaia's not dead. I feel like I know that. I feel like it's a misdirect, and I feel like if people think Gaia is dead, bullshit. Because there's so much footage of Gaia that has not come up yet in these episodes. So I already know that she's not dead. They're not fooling anybody. I still got to admit, I was shocked when that happened. I was like, there ain't no way they just killed her. Like, unless it was such a misdirect, all that footage that we saw in the trailers, that isn't going to happen. I know that's not the case. I know that she's not dead. I feel like she definitely, because earlier in the episode, we saw the Super Skrull, we saw, I guess Gravik talking to the head people of the Skrulls, like the ones that are kind of like either their own little circle of Skrulls that get to control the Skrulls. They're like the leaders. Gravik was talking about making Super Skrulls and showing the machine, and we saw, when Gravik got stabbed by Talos, about he kept putting Gaia's name in his mouth, and he kept saying, "Oh, like you're lucky I didn't send Gaia in a body bag." Of course, Talos, stabbed him, and then as Talos walked out, that's when Gravik started healing due to the extremis, because you know what I mean. Like that was one of the samples that Talos had, along with of course I think it was Corvus Glaive's arm, and the frost from the frost monster in Thor 1. So there was a lot of DNA samples, and that's why he was able to heal his hand due to the extremis. So I feel like them setting that up in the beginning of the episode, and then also killing off Gaia. I feel like Gaia probably went through that Super Skrull program. Maybe didn't tell Gravik that she went through the machine. Maybe she knew that there was a chance. Oh my god, that he might try to kill me. I'm gonna go through this machine And you know what I mean? And if he does kill me, he won't know that I went through the machine to turn myself into a super scroll. I feel like she did, and I feel like she's not dead. And I feel like we'll find that out in the beginning of next week's episode that she's just gonna wake up and we're gonna see that she's healing herself about you know what I mean via going through the super scroll machine. So I feel like we'll find out in the next episode that she went through the super scroll machine and she turned herself into a super scroll, and we're gonna see like kind of like the extremis heal her wound, her gunshot wound to the chest. So I feel like they're not fooling anybody. She definitely went through it. That's the only way. That's the only thing that makes sense is that she went through the machine, and he doesn't know that. But she knew that there could have been a chance that he could would have killed her, and she would took precautions about it. Um, that other than that, the ending of this episode made no sense. The ending of this episode made no sense because I don't know what text Gravik or one of the scrolls sent to Nick Fury's wife, but she went straight to some PO box. There was a gun in an envelope called, or someone called her, and Rhodey ended up picking up the phone, and she said, "I want to speak to Gravik," and and he said, "Oh, like Gravik's the one that needs to speak to you, or Gravik decides when he wants to be spoken to, or some bullshit." He said some shit like that, Rhodey, and we kind of had the idea, was that actually Rhodey in the last episode? A lot of people online said that's not Rhodey, it's a scroll. I believe it's a scroll now. That and the scrolls have Rhodey in that kind of sleeper cocoon. So, or that sleep, that kind of just have him in that sleep state. And they have him, and they took his memory, and that's just a scroll that infiltrated as Rhodey. I feel like that's not them saying, "Oh, Rhodey's been a scroll this entire time." I feel like that's them saying that that wasn't Rhodey. They have Rhodey, and somebody is just impersonating Rhodey. So that kind of gives us the answer that we've been wondering from last week's episode. But I feel like even then that kind of confirms. I don't know if that's Rhodey or not. I thought it was still Rhodey. I didn't think it was a scroll, but a lot of people online said that was a scroll and that wasn't Rhodey. So that ending confirmed that that wasn't Rhodey. It was a scroll after all. But I don't. That ending didn't make any sense to me. I don't know why she went to a PO box. I don't know why the PO box had a gun. I don't know what made her want to go to the PO box. That shit did not make any sense at all. I think we'll find out in next week's episode what the hell they sent her, why the hell she went to the PO box for the gun. I honestly don't know. This shit's confusing to me. That's why I'm saying that this episode was definitely the weakest out of these past two episodes. This third episode was definitely the weakest. Kind of concerns me because we only have like 3 more episodes left, which is just very dicey to me because it's 6 episodes and we already went through 3 episodes, so we only got 3 episodes left. It's a little bit scary. I'm really hoping that they can keep up the momentum. I want a lot more action. I feel like we've just been doing a lot of talking. I feel like we haven't done a lot of shit that makes me feel like, oh my god, is this really going to affect the MCU? Almost, I feel like we really haven't gotten to that. Oh my god, the heroes are now involved. I need at some point the Thunderbolts being called into action. I need that because I feel like that's the only thing that makes sense. We know that the president isn't the president. We know that the president is a Skrull. I need at the end of the series or at some point, I need to see Harrison Ford's Thunderbolt Ross go into presidency. I need to see it. I need to see the Thunderbolts being called into action at some point in this episode or in these episodes. I need the Thunderbolts being called into action to set up for Captain America, Brave New World. That needs to happen. I feel like that's the only thing that makes sense and the only thing that will get us hype is Thunderbolt Ross being called into presidency and the Thunderbolts being called into action. I feel like that's the only thing that's going to get us hyped. On top of, I'm hoping Chloe Bennett pops up still. I'm really fingers crossed that Chloe Bennett is in this series. I'm really hoping for it. She's talked about it. I feel like she's been playing the whole Andrew Garfield, werewolf shit. I feel like she's totally in here, and they're just waiting until the last episode to show her. I'm really hoping. If not, she better pop up in Brave New World. That was also one of my theories I had, and and what it was an old video I said saying that I'm guaranteeing she's gonna be a part of the new team that Sam's putting together. Is she's gonna be a part of that new team? Daisy Johnson, aka Quake. Not in here. I'm telling you, she's gonna pop up in there. I am telling you. I hope so. But I don't know. I don't know. This was just a weak ass episode, if I do say so myself. I want to know down in the comments below what did you guys think? Did you like it? Did you not like it? This definitely makes me feel less sad that I missed out on the watch party because, like I said, this was a doozy episode. I'm really hoping next week's episode's a little bit better. But like I said, if anything, I'm glad at the end of the day that we didn't miss out on anything crazy together, guys. You know what I mean? It's like this was definitely a weak episode, but I feel like next week's episode, I feel like we'll get a lot more answers, especially to that ending. We'll get a lot more answers, and especially the guy so-called dying. I'm telling you, she turned herself into a super scroll. I'm telling you. But let me know, guys. Do you think Guy is actually dead? Did that ending make any sense to you? Do you guys kind of feel where I'm coming from, where like these things need to happen in this series? I feel like they do. Like Thunderbolt Ross going into presidency and the Thunderbolts being called into action. I feel like that's the only thing that makes sense. That would really set up Captain America: Brave New World like really well. Because in reality, that's like the next essentially movie. I feel like the events of this really won't feed into Captain Marvel that much. I feel like they really won't because I feel like it's not one and the same. Like what's happening here, I feel like will not affect the Marvels. I just feel like it won't. I feel like the things that are happening here will definitely affect Captain America: Brave New World. Personally, I'm really curious to know what if you guys agree with me on that. Like, what do you guys think the events here will like? What do you think they'll affect going forward the next Marvel projects? Do you think it will this will all tie in and affect the Marvels? Do you guys think that this will tie in and affect Brave New World? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you're new here again, subscribe to the channel, punch notifications, like this video. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. I'm really curious to know. Guys, the goal is we're on the road to hitting 1,000 subscribers. That is the goal. So guys, again here, if you're new here, help a brother out. Help me get to 1,000. That's the goal. But guys, as always, that was a video. I hope everybody has a great day, a safe day, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.